In this next part, we're going to look at the animation of that we have inside our game. First off, we've got some different elements here. We've got a player here, and you'll notice that right now he's just a bunch of individual little symbols. So I've got a lot of different little symbols that's a part of him. So that's kind of nice because I could actually make different groups or different movie clips, symbols that are inside here that I could animate, so I could do a little motion tween animation of his head, or maybe animate the bat by itself. So I need to select, of course, all the different parts for the bat. I've got his hands and I've got his arms here. And we can break him apart since he was nice little clip art. We could break him apart and actually create an animation with him. And I've already done that, so I'm going to just replace these with the animations that I already have. So you'll notice that we've got our two characters, and we actually want our characters that have these animations. So let me go to my library and find my animated characters here. So here's my animated character, and he looks pretty much the same thing, but if I double click on him and go inside of him, you'll see that he's got an animation where I've separated all the different layers. I even have a sound layer here, but his left arm, and there's a frame by frame animation for his left arm, a frame by frame animation for his right arm. There's a little bit of a tweened animation here for his head, so I had to use a symbol here. So I had to create his head just into a movie clip itself. I've got the symbol for the bat, and that has a frame by frame animation, and then the player himself. So this right now is just a looping animation. I don't have any code in here yet either, but we're going to be actually having that code so that he is initially stopped, and we'll play him when we want him to run through that section. So what we should have in here is a couple extra layers. I need our action layer. And I'm going to actually move all of this stuff forward one frame by selecting all the frames and then duplicating it. That way, I actually have the first keyframe is exactly the same thing as the second keyframe. And that's going to be important because this is going to be what he looks like when he's stopped. So I'm going to go to my actions layer and put stop. Now I'm going to go to the actions layer and change this so that it has a label called hit. Now when I import my sounds, I'll be putting my sound here on the hit keyframe as well, so it will run at the same time. So he stopped it first, and then he has the hit state right after it. And you'll notice this is very much like a movie clip button. Now I'm doing all my character animation inside this one character, and then I'll duplicate him to the other side for the different players. So of course I can replace this layer, this player that I have on the left, with my new animated player. So I'm going to call him left player underscore MC. And if I duplicate him, I can just duplicate him with the Alt key held down. Then I can go to my transform and click on the, let's see, this is the horizontal scaling, and change that to -100. And you'll notice that I flip him around very, very easily. And now I can remove the right player and give him that instance name. So he needs to be the right player instead of the left player. And if I wanted to, I could also give him a little color effect. Maybe we could change his color a little bit so it was obvious that we had two different players, which is kind of nice. We have to kind of play with the colors here. Doesn't seem like it's going to give me the idea that I want to do. Kind of is hard to give him the color. We might really have to create a second player because this is not really giving me what I want. It's making my blues look kind of strange, isn't it? And he's not really looking different enough. So I think I'd really have to duplicate my player. That's even a better idea. And then change different elements about him. So if I find that baseball player hit animation, I can then duplicate it. Oh, I'll just keep the name that's there right now. change that to -100. And then double click inside there, and you'll notice that I have a player with this background here. And right now that's red. And of course, I could change that to a different color so that he looks like a different player than before, which is really a good idea. So let me go back to my properties. Let's see if that's the right blue. I don't think it's the right blue. I need to make sure that I have the right blue. So I'll actually go back to my eyedropper tool, select that blue, select the blue here with the eyedropper tool, then go to the next keyframe and paste him right over that. So now I've got the same blue both places. So we'd also do that with other elements if we could, maybe his socks, just to make sure that he is using the same blue as before. Need to make sure that I have just the elements selected that I want to paste. So we've got a different player here, which is good. And that will really look nice when we have the two players side by side, because that way they look different. But they have the same structure, and I was really, I made that structure before I did the second player. That way, I didn't have to repeat a whole lot of work. So anyway, let's make sure that this guy is called right player _MC. And if your animation is not quite as extreme as mine, that's okay. It's just the idea that you get that you want that animation inside the player himself, and you want him stopped at the initial time that you use him. We also need to make sure our right player is on a layer by himself. You'll notice I have this right player layer here, so I'm going to cut him off of there, go to the right player layer, and paste him, and kind of move him back to kind of where he should be. Now, this is going to be where our animations start from. Now, the ball could also have this kind of animation. If you look at the ball right now, he's just got a very simple graphic right there. So I can go back and take this ball and make him into an animation as well. So I'm going to right click, convert to symbol. This will be the ball anim. Inside this, I'm going to create a new layer, which will be my actions layer. I'm going to duplicate him so that the first time he'll be stopped, and then he's got a hit animation. So I'm just going to make that hit animation go a few frames. And at this point, I guess I could make another keyframe for him here at the end. And this keyframe, he's just going to have a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little blur or glow or something around him, so that maybe exactly when he gets hit, he actually has a little glow. And there's so many different ways that you can do this. So there's the glow that I have around him. Maybe I'll make it kind of a yellow effect. And it'll be kind of slight at first. And then a classic tween will remove that as he gets hit. We could also make it, of course, just scale up tiny bit so that when he gets hit, it's obvious that he got hit just at that one time. So we also need to put our stop in here at the first keyframe for our actions layer. That way he's stopped initially. And we now have pretty much what we need for our basic animations. We've got our hit animation for our left player. We do need something for our ball, so our ball needs to be called ball MC. And then we've got our right player, and that has its own animation as well. And we've really created the animations that we need for our game itself. And we'll be using code to make these animations play in our next tutorial. So save your work here and go on.